Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 12 defenses to stream for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, we're going to be going over 5 different defenses that I believe you guys should be looking to pick up off the waiver wire right now based upon their matchups for week number 12. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I'd also like to ask, if you guys are on Twitter and would like to follow me on there, to please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. The link to my Twitter is also down below in the video description. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 12 defenses to stream. We begin with my number 1 defensive stream of the week, and that is the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. Right now, the Bears defense is being rostered in 18.7% of leagues on NFL.com. If you play on Yahoo, ESPN, CBS, any of those other fantasy football platforms, then the roster percentage is obviously going to be slightly different. So the Chicago Bears went up against the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday, and everyone and their mother earlier on in the week projected this to be a murder, a absolutely destructive matchup from the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson just fucking lost to the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. There was no way, coming off of a quote-unquote mini-bye, that the Baltimore Ravens were going to lose this game, because Lamar Jackson was going to be pissed and he was going to beat down on the Chicago Bears defense. And then as the week goes on, we hear that, hey, Hollywood Brown isn't going to play. And I'm thinking, you know what? That sucks for fantasy, right? Because I like Hollywood Brown. But I still think the Baltimore Ravens could easily win this game. And then it keeps coming out that, oh, Lamar Jackson is ill, but he doesn't have COVID. So I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe he's got a case of the shits or something. Like in that game last year, if you guys remember what I'm talking about, in that night game, he'll be just fine. Right? He'll play. He'll be fine. And then it comes out that he's not playing. So I'm thinking, oh, wow. The Bears are now like the greatest streaming defense maybe ever to just randomly appear out of nowhere on Sunday, because the Bears went from a team that no one wanted to touch with a 10-foot pole, because the Bears defense just hasn't been as good as it has been in the last couple of years, to one of the most optimal defenses to stream on the week. So going up against the Baltimore Ravens, they had 6 sacks, 1 INT, and 16 points allowed. And somehow, going up against Huntley, the Bears still managed to fucking lose this game, because the Bears are a dumpster fire this season. But hey, the Bears defense this week, going up against the Detroit Lions, should easily be able to perform up against potentially Tim Boyle. I mean, this is a short week. It is on Thursday night, or it is on, not Thursday Night Football, it's on Thursday football for Thanksgiving. It is entirely possible that we don't see Jared Goff. The Browns defense last week went up against the Lions, 2 INTs, 10 points allowed. You could see this from a mile away that the Bears are going to be a great defense this week, so I'm not going to try to bang the drum aggressively and just keep talking them up. But I do believe that the Chicago Bears are the best defense to stream on the week. Next up, we move to the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. Right now, the Dallas Cowboys defense is being rostered in 64% of leagues. Last week, the Dallas Cowboys went up against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. I assume virtually no one played the Dallas Cowboys defense because everyone expected this to be a fucking shootout. I think the over-under on this game was over 58 points, I believe, and it got nowhere close to that. The Chiefs versus the Dallas Cowboys was so talked up. It was talked about how, oh, hey, this is like the Chiefs versus the Rams from a couple of years ago. You guys remember how crazy that game was? That's what this is going to be. And in reality, it was a complete and utter fucking snooze fest. The Dallas Cowboys defense up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, 3 sacks, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, and 19 points allowed. No one saw that coming, right? No one assumed that the Cowboys versus the Chiefs would be this low-scoring battle. The Cowboys' offense looked like dog shit in that game. But now, they're going up against the Raiders, and the Raiders just can't do anything correctly as of recently. The Bengals last week, going up against the Raiders in Las Vegas, they had 2 sacks, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, and 13 points allowed. The Raiders are just done for at this point in the season. The Raiders do this every single fucking year. They make you think that, oh, it's a new Raiders. Oh, look at this. They're winning games early on in the season. The 3-4 wins they had in a row at the beginning of the season don't mean shit because of how they look right now in week number 12 and over the last bunch of weeks of the season. The Raiders offense just isn't all that great. Darren Waller is still a fine fantasy start, as is Hunter Renfrow, but at the end of the day, the Dallas Cowboys defense should have no struggle at all suffocating the Raiders offense. So I think the Dallas Cowboys defense is an excellent stream on the week. Next up, we move to my Miami Dolphins defense going up against the Carolina Panthers. The Dolphins defense is being rostered in 53.9% of leagues. I don't remember if I mentioned the Cowboys roster percentage. It is 64% right now. So the Miami Dolphins last week went up against the New York Jumbo Jets in MetLife. I was watching the game. I saw a lot of clips from the game on Twitter, and it honestly seemed like the crowd was 80% Dolphins fans in New York, which is hilarious. So 2 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, 17 points allowed for the Dolphins defense, but that's up against the Jets, obviously, right? That's a layup. The week before, the Dolphins defense eviscerated the Baltimore Ravens that we talked about a little bit earlier. The week prior to that, they eviscerated the Texans, but again, the Texans and the Jets, you can kind of put them in the same category. They're both shit. So the Carolina Panthers, this week is going to be a tough test for the Dolphins defense because Cam Newton looks like he went back in time and is like vintage Cam Newton, MVP Cam Newton from the Carolina Panthers. It is crazy how good Cam Newton and this Carolina Panthers offense looks now without mono man Sam Darnold with Cam Newton under center. So this is definitely a risky pick, but with how hot the Dolphins defense has been running as of recently, I still believe that you should be streaming them this week. The Washington Football Team defense didn't look great up against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina last week. But again, the Washington Football Team defense was very overhyped in the offseason. Everyone was getting down on their knees, giving them the gawk 9,000. They don't have Chase Young right now, so you can't really expect much out of that defense, especially in a matchup up against the Panthers, where a lot of people like the Panthers. So I'll kind of push that one to the side, and I hope that the Dolphins defense looks pretty solid in this game. They're definitely an all-right streaming option, but I do see them as much more risky when compared to the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Bears defense. But before we got into my 4th defensive stream on the week, I would like to ask if you have ended up enjoying thus far, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and like the video. It would help me out a ton. I would greatly appreciate it. So next defense to pivot to is the Washington Football Team. Now I understand, oh Nick, you just kind of danced on the grave of the Washington Football Team defense. I understand that I did, but it's because I didn't expect the Washington Football Team defense to play good up against the Panthers, and everyone expected the Washington Football Team defense earlier on in the season, coming from the offseason, to be amazing. So the Washington Football Team are going up against Seattle this week. The Seattle Seahawks defense looks about as deflated as a football in New England. The Seattle Seahawks defense their offense, both, I guess, don't look very good at all, and I'm mainly talking about the offense, obviously, because we're talking about the Washington Football Team defense versus the Seattle offense. Football Team defense right now is being rostered in 36.7% of leagues. Again, the Washington Football Team defense, to reiterate, to say it again, they had 1 sack, 21 points allowed. The Arizona Cardinals went up against Seattle last week. They had 4 sacks and 13 points allowed. It is very clear to me that Russell Wilson is not 100%, that Russell Wilson's hand is still hampering him, and that he 100% came back way too early, which is a point that I discussed 2 weeks ago when he was coming back, that I was saying, hey, maybe he's coming back too early, and it is very clear at this point that that is the case. So again, I don't love the Washington Football defense as a defensive unit, but when you're streaming defenses, sometimes you have to kind of swallow the fact that you have to start a defense that maybe isn't all that great because of the matchup they had. I love the matchup up against Seattle. I just don't see things changing unless Russell Wilson magically goes from being, 70% Russell Wilson to 85% Russell Wilson, and then bada bing, bada boom. I'm excited about him, but right now, the Seattle offense doesn't scare me at all, so the Washington Football defense is my 4th favorite defense to be streaming on the week. Final defense to discuss in today's video is another NFC East team, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles facing the New York Football Giants. So the Philadelphia Eagles in week number 11 go up against the New Orleans Saints. In that game, the Eagles defense has 2 INTs, 1 fumble recovery, 1 touchdown, as well as 29 points allowed in that game. The Eagles defense has looked pretty solid as of recently. Not like they're the best defense or something in the NFL, but they have been pretty solid. The Giants have not played their Week 11 matchup just yet, as they play tonight up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so we're going to have to go ahead and pivot all the way back to Week 9, because the Giants were obviously on bye in Week number 10. So the Raiders went up against the Giants in Week number 9. They had 3 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 17 points allowed. There is always something to say about streaming and defense up against Daniel Jones. It's kind of like streaming a defense up against Jameis Winston, because you know that there is the risk that Daniel Jones just carves up the Eagles defense like it's the Thanksgiving turkey or something. Because you can see that happening because there's those great games out of Daniel Jones. But then there's also the games where the guy's fucking stumbling, bumbling, falling all over, throwing the ball just directly to the Eagles defenders, just fumbling the ball, doing all types of stupid shit that you know Daniel Jones can do. So I'm going with the Eagles, who are riding a hot streak defensively, looking pretty solid defensively as of recently, going up against the Giants, who I believe are just prone to fucking things up and making bad decisions. So to me, that is the answer to success. So the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be my 5th best defense to be streaming on the week. Let me know down below in the comment section if none of these defenses are available, none of the Bears, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, the football team, or the Eagles are available, and let me know who's available in your league, and I can go ahead and help you guys out. If you guys are in leagues that are maybe not as deep, if you're maybe in a 8-team league, then there's going to be much better defenses available that can help you guys find as well. So make sure you guys do ask questions down below in the comment section. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day, and as always, goodbye.